Comenta Eva que unamos directamente
Eva
las
said
preguntas, como ahora
that
tenemos
we
la
do
mesa
the
redonda que
questions
coordina
because now
ella,
we have the
podemos
round
hacer
table
como un
coordinated by
continuo
her. We can do like a
y
keep on going,
entonces
and then
necesitaríamos
so we will
que le
need that.
acompañaran en la mesa a Eva tanto Remé,
So that
que ya la veo aquí
Reme
preparada,
comes to the round table with Eva.
como
Reme
Juan
is here
Muriel,
already.
que
Juan
no lo veo
Muriel,
aquí,
but I cannot see him.
y Becky Castellón de,
Okay.
de
And
MDPI,
Becky
no sé si está,
Castellón.
sí.
I don't know if you're here, Becky. Yes, okay.
Nos falta Juan.
Al final va a ser en inglés, ¿o qué?
Sí, sí. Dame que no sé el enlace que os mandé.
Y qué bajitas son estas. Sí. No falta bien. Vamos a ver. Sí.
Okay. I will switch into English because I think we need to be more proactive, more flexible. I'm sure that everybody can follow us. And also there is simultaneous translation. I don't know if it's gonna change Korean. No, I will not speak Korean. Okay. So this is my pleasure as extension for my talk that I was provocative in purpose. So we can just have this new topic, which is a fantastic topic, the role of scientific editors, publishers in the open science scenario. And I have 4 very interesting people with me today to have different voices. We have Wilhelm, that he was also our panelist today. He talked with the hat of the librarian, with the hat of EOSC and many other hacks that I know you about that. And he will represent this library and this institutional role. We have also Reme Melero, that you know very well because she's a researcher herself and also an open science militant. Yeah, I give you that role because it's how I define myself. She's a researcher. She works in the CSIC, in the Institute of Agrochemistry and Food Technology, and the Spanish National Research Council. And we have also 2 representatives of the publishers. We have Juan Burriel, just close by on my left. And he works for Cambridge University Press. So you have been spending more than 20 years in this career of a publisher. Your current position is, if I have it well, is your senior sales executive, right? Yeah. And the point is that I think Cambridge University Press is one of these publishers that you mentioned this morning that not many of them want to change the business model because they have the goose that lies the golden eggs. So probably they don't want to change it. But particularly in the case of Cambridge University Press, they have been working to change the business model, even if you keep being a for-profit institution, right? And also we have other kind of publisher, which is the representative of MDPI, which is also well known for the Spanish researchers that we are rushed to pay MDPI to get published. And also you give me the journal impact factor, you give me the position, I just pay. I'm super happy about that. But it's another business model based on Gold Open Access, pure Gold Open Access. And it's Becky Castellón, that she's the institutional partnerships manager at MDPI. And you have been in this current position for 3 years, right? And all of them, we have, including me, we have a background in library science. You are not a librarian,
No, I'm
but you are a very good interlocutor. Sometimes the librarians, we need researchers that they are good interlocutors to understand what is the business and what is the problems that we have. But I will start the panel asking just a very obvious question. What is the role of scientific publishers in open science scenario? I think since you have more or less set up in your presentation, you can just pin down the main issues that you want to just underline from your presentation. What is the role for you as a librarian, as an institutional leader, also in the context of open science?
Well, I think we all know that the publishers have taken a role in open access and in open science. That is good. I think in the beginning, the publishers just said no to open access, but they have flipped and changed, and they have made open access as a business model. And also inside, when you're talking about open data, many publishers are investing in repositories and other way to get us to pay for the data as well. So I think the main problem, many publishers want to work in open science, but the main problem is that it costs too much. And I think I stop there.
Okay, they have a role, but it's very expensive. Wow. What do you think, Juan? Let's have the voice of the publishers now. What do you think about the role? What is the role, and what is you think is very expensive or not? That may be also another question.
Well, as you said before, we are we play a different role than the usual because we are part of the university, so we have a different approach. And as you know, now we are in the phase of the, well, I mean, maybe I wouldn't talk about too much about transformative agreement, but read and publish or whatever. But we are trying to change this model, so it's not just a question of as we said before about Antonio Machado, is not to talk the talk. We want to walk the walk. And that's what we are doing now, not just with the transformative agreements. It's something that we are doing with our journals. We are flipping them to open access. We are transforming hybrids to open access journals. We are launching new journals, all of them in open access. We are transforming our own systems. So we were not ready for this transformative movement. So it's something that we have to, our workflows were not ready for this new system. And at the same time, we are giving voice to another stakeholders, because we think that, for instance, for researchers in low, middle and low income countries, they don't have the opportunity. So we have created a program to give them the voice. And in general, we think that it's a question of all these stakeholders have to bear in mind. So we have to change the panorama, the scenario. We have to change our systems. It's a task for all of us. So it's just for not just for publishers, for researchers, for funders, for all of us involved. And it's something that, as we say, we are in a transition moment, but it's something that we are really committed, because as I said, we are part of the university, so it's not just because it's what it is now. What we have to do is because we are part, and we believe in what we are doing, that is the best one for the research and for the open science.
Okay, so what is your point in here, Becky? What do you think is the role of the publishers, particularly your?
Well, I just want to start by thanking you for letting me be on this panel. I kind of prepared a bit more of a formal statement, so I might just read that out, and then I guess hopefully that will answer the question. So I will be showing more the perspective of a native, fully open access publisher. So MDPI, since its creation in 1996, has been a bit of a disruptor in the publishing space. Everything we do is open access, and it's always been one of our core values. It's something that we champion every day through the articles that we publish, the initiatives that we fund, and the services that we give back to the scientific community. We seek to innovate and make a world that is a more open place. So we see the democratization of knowledge as a linchpin of progress, removing barriers and paywalls, building a free flow of information. These are key aspects to drive progress and equality. And open access is about changing how we share knowledge in this growing world of globalization, to work together to solve some of the world's most pressing problems, including kind of some of the sustainable development goals that I see are kind of listed behind us. But obviously, these are kind of more benefits of open access as a whole, so, which isn't what we're here to talk about. So the transition towards open access has been pretty slow, and one of the blockers has been the shift of the blame baton. So who needs to push the change? Is it the libraries, the researchers, the funders, the publishers? All of these stakeholders play a key role in this process, and all of these kind of different roles are deeply interconnected. The role of the publisher, I would say, to answer the question, is to maintain the integrity of the publishing process whilst innovating to make open science bigger and more accessible. We can't just keep doing what we've done for the last 200 years. The world has evolved, and so has our role. So our role is not just to provide a platform, but we need to build a scalable and sustainable framework to support open science. The current status quo, as you kind of mentioned, with transformative and read and publish agreements, is kind of where we're at now. However, this has not proved to be very efficient, or as efficient as originally intended. Journals are missing their OA targets and progress has been pretty slow. So are these really helping us lead to the desired end goal of open science? So generally, I think that publishers could be doing more to achieve open science faster. At MDPI, obviously, as a kind of native OA publisher, all 430 plus gold OA journals that we publish are under CC BY license. We have an open access books catalog, and we recently launched a new diamond open access journal. In our support of libraries, MDPI is dedicated to being a dependable and transparent publishing partner, and we want to help you help your researchers by providing transparent and flexible open access models and kind of creating new ways of supporting your researchers. So open access is not just a publishing model, it's a fundamental shift in the way knowledge is accessed and shared, and it's a critical enabler of open science. So to answer the question in one sentence, the publisher's role is to be a facilitator. We shouldn't be the gatekeepers of knowledge, but the drivers of change.
Wow, that's an interesting point of view. Remy, what is the voice of the researchers coming here?
Oh.
And I have a specific liaison with her answer to give it to you. Do you think that the researchers, we need the publishers to maintain our integrity? Because it's what she said, and I think it's that straight to the researcher.
Well, in some way, so depends on the evaluation assessment, because, well, we are still, I remember last year, maybe you remember too, well, I can't remember the name. It doesn't matter. It's like, he was saying Raffles, Raffles, that researchers have in their genes, so the impact factor. So when you were talking about evaluation, so the evaluation, I mean, the researchers can change the how they behave in open access, but the people who evaluate still have these genes in their mind. So said that. So I would like to put on the floor something that we have been talking about, changing business model. I will put an example. The American Chemical Society, so which is has several journals, and they have APCs, but they have a new model. So it's called Article Development Charge, the ADC. That is for zero embargo green open access, just 2,500 euros. So this is not a change in business model. This is ridiculous. So I'm against APCs. I recognize, I mean, the private companies that they have their business, but I mean, the cost, I mean, is completely not transparent. There are no transparency about how much costs to produce a journal. So it doesn't cost the same to publish 10 or 100 journals. And I mean, even the American Chemical Society, that is on their web. So there is an infography with a donut, and part of one third or more. So it's the cost of peer review management. And you say, oh, peer review management, you mean the infrastructure? But so the cost of peer review is the hours we researchers spend evaluating or revising the article. So, and another question is copyright and secondary rights and copyright assigned to the publishers. I'm against that, and institutions should do something against that. So forbidden to assign away the copyright, the rights of the authors that they produce their own products, they they contribute to their business, and they charge again for the same. So, and I stop here.
That's very interesting, but do you think still, I think you didn't answer the question. Do you think they have a role in the open science, the researchers? I mean, from the point of view of the researcher, the publishers have a role, because you mentioned all these issues that they are just more and more invasive in our career, which is something like charging for processing not only the article charge, but also the development of the thing. But do you think they still have a role?
Well, yes, I found out one role is about data, because you have mentioned before that the funders, so they can request, they can force, so they or move for the open science. So, and I think the publishers could have this positive role in the sense that some publishers are requesting the previous, archiving the data. Oh, yes, but listen, so we have the law, and the law also is talking about fair data, and you have to deposit the data, and so. But if PLOS, for instance, PLOS, all the journals in PLOS, ask, your data must be deposited before submission. So believe me, so every researcher is going to put first the data. So, and I think this is a kind of probably a role in favor of open data, but just not in their own repositories, but in the institutional or trust repositories. I think this could be a positive thing, but well, the subjects about rights is still in the air.
Okay, I disagree, but I will not a speaker here. I'm just leading the discussion. What do you think, Becky, about this role that you mentioned, that you think that research, the connection between publishers and researchers, you are a facilitator. Do you think that this role that Rem envisioned is just something that you can work facilitating the openness of the data? Do you have MDPI has any policy about that?
Well, we're kind of really pro open everything. So we do really heavily encourage open data, making data and research data available in the submission, kind of fair research data policies, things like that. So I said use the word facilitator, because obviously as a publisher, we are kind of a venue for the research. We undertake the kind of peer review process and enable that kind of that verification of the science by other researchers, and then provide the platform for the reach of the research. So, I mean, yeah, kind of with what you were saying, it's coming from a native OA publisher. Obviously, everything's published under CC BY, so the researchers maintain copyright, they own everything, and we really push to be more transparent and open in kind of as many ways as we can.
Do you have any perception on this, on the facilitation between the publication and data, or what is the role of, do you have Cambridge any kind of policy in that sense?
Well, I think that following a little bit more about the role of the facilitator is that, for instance, in our case, we publish about more than 400 journals, and the percentage, about 60% of them, of the journals, are published on behalf of the societies. So that's I think one of the key roles that we give visibility, we give the promotion and the amplitude needed for all these researchers. So I think it's one of the key roles. Apart from that, we have well, as a part of the university, we have to comply several, policies are aligned with the rest of the university. As I usually say, we are like a press department that has grown, and it becomes a separate part of the university. We have our own entity, and we have to be sustainable. And on the other hand, we have to reinvest in our own systems to make this work as it should be. So I think there is one of the key roles. Maybe I think we have several other opportunities. For instance, we have a loan more than 400 years. So that's the advantage, that we know we have the know-how, we have the expertise to publish, we have the contacts, the workflows, all the peer review system. So I know that it's something that has to change from the old model, the big deal, to the new model, whatever it is. But one of the key stakeholders is publishers, because otherwise I think it's something that is not going to work. All of us has our voice, and we have as stakeholders, as I say, like funders, researchers, but all of us have to dialogue, to have an open dialogue, and to go in the same direction.
Okay, interesting too. You mentioned before that it's very expensive. You know that in Spain we say that we don't talk about money because it's not polite. But let's talk about money. I think it's an important issue here. You mentioned in your talk that you have been negotiating with Elsevier, with the publisher, which you mentioned particularly Elsevier. But you said that at the end, the negotiation, it cost 14 million euros at the national level. It's not expensive. What is that? What is expensive for you? Because you mentioned as wow, we won.
Well, we took a little step, I think. So it is really expensive. And we didn't win, but we continued to work with Elsevier, and we got a decrease of the costs, and a rather big decrease with 11%. But that is not the future. I don't believe that transformative agreement is the future. It won't change the system at all. We still don't have innovation within the scholarly communication system, and we don't really have as much competition as we need. We have new publishers like MDPI, but you are still based on the APC market. You don't show us how can we make more publishing as a service that we discuss. What will publishing for Stockholm University cost? What could we work together on to make it transparent, and we are paying for what we should, the costs of the publishing, not what you need for your investors. I don't say that all the commercial companies are bad or something. I understand that there are costs for publishing, but we can make those costs decrease if we change the system within the publishers as well. I know that Cambridge are doing a lot of time at the Cambridge Advisory Board and things like that. So that's a good step, but not many that follow us. And then, of course, we need Quora. We need to change the merit system, because the merit system put us in the position that the researchers need to publish with the big publishers to get promoted. So without that, we can change it. But I think the publishers need to start change it. I think that publishers like MDP also have to think about how can we work together with the community, and how can we leave the APC deals, because I don't think that's for the future.
Yeah, just let me pass the word of the publisher voice. What do you think about Quora? Because that's very interesting. We have attempts for publishers to be members of Quora. Do you think you have something to do in the research assessment system? Because as a principle of Quora, we don't accept any member in the coalition that is for profit. So that's full stop. It's not allowed. And I remember a discussion that I have with one of the members that they want to put Elsevier in one of the working groups, and I say, excuse me, it's not that I'm against Elsevier, it's that never the solution came with the hand of the problem. So if we cannot put the problem on the discussion, because we are creating Quora because of the publishing mechanisms currently, but still I may be confused. So I think you might have a role to play in the research assessment as a member of the coalition. And I'm looking at you, but I'm looking at both of you. I mean,
Okay.
publishers in general, no MDPI or not any business model. Forget about the business model. What do you think in your ideal world that the publisher will have a role in the new research assessment? It's crazy to think about it. Is okay, you are trying to kill my business model. So when I will be collaborating with you guys, I want people to publish in my journal impact factor, super high reputation journals. So do you have any connection that perhaps we can hear from the publishers?
Well, first of all, I would say that in our case, it's a little bit different because we are not a
But
commercial
institution,
publisher.
yeah.
So it's that's a little bit. But even I'm not going to be an advocate of the devil in this case. But I would say that all of us, I think that's even my personal opinion. So maybe someone at the Cambridge University Press is going to say you can say whatever what you can say, but you say. But I think that if it's something that involves all of us as stakeholders. So I think it doesn't matter if in our case we are not, as I say, commercial publisher, we are not for profit, we have a mission. But even so, even thinking about all publishers, all the actors involved, no matter if they are for profit or not for profit, but I think they all have their voice. So I think we have to row in the same direction. So it's like just the races. So I think we have, all of us have something to support. We have our opinion. We have all of us, depending on the way we behave. All of us have to be sustainable in different ways. And for instance, for Cambridge, all as a non-profit organization, we have to be sustainable and we have to reinvest in the university and in ourselves, in new systems, in new programs, in new journals, and whatever. But even, as I say, not telling the difference between commercial and non-commercial, I think there is a voice that has to be heard because maybe because there is a history behind us and we have to step ahead of, we can. Maybe it would be the ideal to cut as it is now and start from the scratch, but it's not possible. So we have a background and we have something behind us, and we have to start from that point and to make a real transformative, a real progress, not in 80 years, of course, in less than that amount, a long period of time, but it's something that all of us have to involve. I don't know, the ways, how to organize, how to implement, but that's in that case, it's my personal opinion.
Okay, yeah. Anything from your side?
I don't have very much to add. I think what they're doing in the UK with the research evaluation framework is very interesting, of actually not looking at impact factors at all and just looking at the impact of the research. So not looking at the publication venue itself, but more looking at the actual research. And I think that's a very interesting concept. So whether that's kind of similar to what Quora is kind of hoping to do. But in terms of publisher involvement, I think, whether obviously we can provide kind of our side of things. As you said, obviously, if, some publishers will want to push impact factors kind of more than others. But I think it also depends on kind of what their kind of, the prestige journals obviously would prefer that we kind of focus only on impact factors, but really is that the only kind of research that we care about? Something that we do at MDPI is that we've, published false results or, results that not inconclusive. What's what I'm looking for? Yeah, well, it doesn't have to be kind of, a new kind of Nobel Prize discovery if it's an experiment that hasn't worked out, that's also useful to know, so that the next researcher that comes along, they can see that, oh, someone's already tried that and it doesn't work. And that's important to publish as well. So that's something that we strongly believe at MDPI of, research as, if it's valid and it has a use, then it deserves to be published.
Mm-hmm. Well, but it's something I'm just thinking in loud voice that if something is important, it is not important for the society because it's worth it to be published. It's because it's important for the society, full stop. I think we are putting, and what we're considering Quora is exactly that. We are putting a lot of energy on the venue and the fact that it's published. But imagine, for example, somebody can discover the new software that change everybody, in the administrative, in one topic, change completely that system. But the guy who made a software never think about publishing it. So what we want is that the fact to be published doesn't legitimize an invention or doesn't legitimize the real impact of something. So it is the problem of the publication focus, the paper-centric system that we have created, is that we are avoiding other people naturally discover things because they don't want to publish something particularly, or because they don't want to pay for being published. They can't do it. I know that my students, the PhD students, they are very happy to share everything in GitHub. They publish, or they don't do it in GitHub because they have to keep the cards here until it's already published, because if not, they will not have the promotion. So at the end of the day, we are creating a non-natural way of behaving. So that's why I think completely that the communication system has to change. I don't know what is the role of, what is the point of view from the researcher as such, or the library as a support system? Because in my opinion, the person or who has the commitment with open science is the researcher. The institution helps you. The publisher is a facilitator, offer you a venue just in case you want to publish. But your commitment with the society is you as a researcher. You, Remy, only you. Go ahead.
Well, I'm researchers, of course, but you have to consider that not all the disciplines behave in the same way.
That's a good point.
Because we were talking at the beginning, the law, no, the lawyers, or they don't publish, probably they publish more books, or they are based in another, they communicate in another way. So it depends on the discipline, and I must say there are disciplines that they behave from the beginning, like physics, and they upload the preprints. And I would like to talk about preprints because normally publishers, or most of publishers now, allow the deposit of preprints. So that is a way to put forward the new advance in science. But there is redundancy from the researchers. I must say that we have run some surveys and asking for, do you upload normally preprints? Say, no, because I'm afraid I'm going to be a scoop, or it's a novelty, and blah, blah, because they are afraid that I don't know if somebody is going to plagiarize the original work. Oh. But it's difficult to be convinced that this is not going to happen, because, well, I used to say at the beginning of the open access movement, so it's no preprints, no, because I'm going to be plagiarized. And I said, okay, and you are not going to be plagiarized if you are, for instance, in an open platform of Elsevier or Francis and Taylor or so, because it's open. Or you have access. So I think there is researchers must also change behavior, and not only the publishers, by the way. And I agree with you that publishers should be service providers in some way, not charged because a product that we produce and then we have to pay again for that. And so probably we are always in a chaos in thermodynamics. If there's some physics here, probably can explain better. But the chaos is always something that there is reorganizing, the theory of the chaos. And probably we are not in a transformation, but in this chaos process. But yes, I think part of the guilty part of the story are also the researchers, because all this panic to be plagiarized by anybody else, and so on. I think that we have to work in this sense. And talking about the price, so I have given many courses and workshops and so on, and I have heard many times that oh yes, but the open access is expensive, and the open access, wasn't born because to make this business model, to charge nearly $1,000 in Nature. So why Nature charge 10,000 euros or nearly 10,000 euros for a paper? Prestige?
I can tell you because they can.
Yeah.
Because there are somebody that is willing to pay them. If you can get 10,000 for this pen, you will not charge less. That's the point. So,
yeah, that's the point. But who can afford that? Because there are researchers especially in this called Global South, that I don't like
I don't like
the name,
word,
but
it is reality.
And who can afford that? So then they say, oh no, we have a waiver for the poor countries. Okay.
That's a good point. Who can afford the quality? Who gives quality to the journals? And then I will just go to something that I sent to them, and it was the last week on the 12th of September. I don't know if you heard about this, but it was published that in the United States, it was a case open to 6 publishers, particularly Elsevier, Springer Nature, Taylor and Francis, Sage, Wiley, and Walters and Kluwer. And you know that they are the most expensive and the most rewarding business. And they have opened in the United States an antitrust lawsuit against the academic journal publishers because they mention 3 main components. One is they don't give any money, they don't pay. The peer review service is 0 for the researchers, and this is one of the things that I want you to think about. Who gives the quality to the publisher? You mentioned that the publisher has a role on guarantee the integrity of the publishing process, but who puts the quality? If there are not researchers peer review involved, it is absolutely not possible to maintain the quality of a journal, because the quality is not the layout, it's the content. This is one of the key things that it was very in the case. The other thing is that the publisher defendants agreed not to compete on each other for the manuscript by requiring the scholars to submit their manuscript only to one journal. This is something that is very against the advance of the research, because if you just submit it to one publisher, then you don't get published, your paper will be out of the market. So this is something very interesting too. And the third case is that the publisher defendants agreed to prohibit scholars from freely sharing scientific achievements. So this is the right retention strategy that comes from the Plan S, that I don't like Plan S, but this is something interesting. Or how can afford to pay, who can afford to pay sharing the knowledge if sharing is not as a preprint, or what is the system against these kind of things? What do you think about this this legal process that is open? I was twittering last week and I say, that's nice, but they will win. They can pay with our money the best lawyers in the whole world. So there's nothing to do. But I think at least it's good that the publishers, and it's not you are here as publishers, but it's not you, but the publishers recognize that they cannot make the work without the work of the researchers that we do for free. Actually, I don't do it anymore. When they ask me, I remember one guy from Springer Nature that asked me to review a paper, and I say, how much are you going to pay me for review the paper? I can say, no, nothing. This is included in your contract. And I say, excuse me, my contract as a faculty member in the University Carlos III Madrid didn't say that I have to work for free for a for business profit publisher. I don't have anything in my contract. No, yes, but it's included in the activities that the researchers has to do. Who says that? So the point is, what is the value of the role of the researcher in the quality of the publications, which is the only thing that could be on the top of your arguments, the quality of your business or the quality of your product. What is the role of the researcher for you? Do you admit that the researchers that they do their review, they should be paid or not? What do you think?
I mean, I think this is a big question, which I don't think has a good answer, to be honest, because whilst...
That's a good answer.
Thank you. I would agree that, yes, obviously we need researchers to carry out the peer review in order for, to kind of get the science kind of verified. However, there's the kind of consideration that if we are paying peer reviewers, doesn't that put into question the integrity of, the process? The question of editorial independence and researchers being able to kind of freely kind of do the review as they see fit. Whereas if they're being paid, that could potentially cause some questions about scientific integrity. It's something that at MDPI, we do offer kind of reviewer vouchers to use on APCs. So whilst that isn't, a kind of a full kind of answer to the problem, it is something that we're aware of and try to, counteract somewhat. But I do think more generally, the lawsuit is a little contradictory in terms of wanting to pay researchers for the peer review, but then the question about the single submission or questioning the single submission, because actually if a researcher were to submit their work into 4 different journals at 4 different publishers, surely then we're creating even more work, because then we have even more researchers who need to review the paper, or you could have one person receiving 4 review requests for the same manuscript to different publishers.
Yes, but we want to have our business model like you have. That's why the researchers, they want to have money too. That would be fantastic for us. If we review the same paper 4 times, that would be great if you pay for us that. Why not?
Well, then
I put you the other side of the road.
I don't have a good answer for you, but yeah, it could, then turn into that of, are you going to do the peer review 4 times, or are you just going to use the same one 4 times? So actually it might be beneficial for you.
I will use the same one and I would keep making money. That would be perfect for a researcher. I'm just joking. I don't think it's going to happen.
The big problem is that it will end up that the libraries are paying for that even more, because the publishers will take it out on the subscriptions or on the APCs. So if you get money, we have to pay on the 4th time. But I don't really think that we should pay for peer reviewing, because peer reviewing is the scientific discussion that drives the science forward. So I think that is within the system. But I really understand why they are suing, because if you can see the profit margins on 40%, they ask, why don't we get paid when you have margins like that? So I understand why they do it, but I don't think the solution is to pay the researchers for peer review.
Okay, so no, that's a matter. You first.
I was thinking that this question is linked to the something that I think we have mentioned before about the article and the traditional article. And I think it's key, it's important to highlight that we are all our system is based in article in the paper, and we have to think about how to break up this model, how to give opportunity to another kind of research, another different output, and it could be linked to this peer review question, because one of the maybe the things, the factors that we could take into account, it could be you have peer review this number of articles, you have published in this platform. It's not an article, it's not in a journal, but it's a collaborative work. So we should have to try to find another ways to incentivize, to change this merit reward, this recognition scheme. So it's not just, it's linked to the traditional article paper that has to, as a model that has to be changed, and it should be linked to the way we reward to the work of researchers, not just because you have published a book, an article, is because you are researching, you are doing
Contribute. Yeah.
So I think that's key, to change the mind, to think out of the box, and think not just in who is the guilty, who has what's our role. I think it's something that maybe this is a good forum to talk about, but we have the opportunity to talk more in depth, because we only have 5 minutes.
Yes, yes. I'm very conscious about, very aware about the time, but thank you very much for reminding that. Probably some words about open peer review, Remy, that I can read your mind. Did I?
Well, I wanted to respond to the previous one. So I don't want to be paid for reviewing a paper. I don't know if in English it's the same, but we say today for you, tomorrow for me. So it's the same one.
Yeah, sort of.
And but I don't want that publishers argue that the peer review is expensive because they don't pay anything for that. So please don't argue that peer review is part of the cost of the publishing process, because it doesn't cost anything for them. So share that. So the second question was about open peer review.
Yes, because I agree with you that the solution is no paying for that. I was just joking and trying to make you my business model, so you be aware that it's super sad when people make a business model in front of you. So, but for me, the solution is no paying for that, is open peer review. And the open peer review is, again, the invitation to quality. If you do it openly available, that's much better than you pay me for that, because that will be absolutely the way of legitimizing the system. And for that, we don't need a publisher, because the researchers, we know each other. And actually, it's very funny when I submit a paper and the journal asks me, who will be a good reviewer for this paper? Come on, my friends that I already sent to them, and they have already reviewed it, So that's a kind of, we are a collective kingdom, and we do together, and we can do it together, but probably the open peer review is the real way to do it. What do you think, Raymond?
Well, probably is, and probably is not, because again, disciplines behave in different ways. So, and especially the young researchers, sometimes they are afraid to put their names, in their open peer review. Well, first of all, we should define what is open peer review. Open peer review is to show the names of the reviewers and the authors, or is to have a conversation on the web with open to everybody. And
it's what ORE does. Open Research Europe, that is the model of F1000. I remember once that one of my reviewers, I said to him, I will put you as a co-author, because his review was better than my paper. And this is my sense of science, constructing together something better.
Yeah,
So
I agree with that.
That's why I think the open peer review is the model. But also, I don't know if there is another alternative way.
No, I think, so it could be a solution, but I'm aware of that there are some people that they don't want to participate in open peer review because they are afraid of the seniors or funders or whatever to put to participate in this process. But at the same time, it could be also part of this narrative open science in this evaluation. So how I have participated in these open peer review processes and without being afraid of anything. So,
Yeah, if it is rewarded, it is not afraid. I mean, if the other in the old system, all in the black boxes, there is, kind of reluctant. We have 2 minutes for questions for the audience. One question. That is some burning question all the week, all the morning, listening to us, but nothing happened from the audience. Pablo, just go ahead, please. Probably yes, because there is somebody online.
You can come here.
Yeah, that would be better with the microphone. No, Bea? Yeah, go.
Yeah, push the button.
Thank you. Quick comment. I think journal editors and publishers are different things. If you had journal editors at the table, the discussion would be completely different.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Good job. And also the journal editors, sometimes they put their name and the prestige to make the publisher thing happen. So I will tell you an anecdote afterwards. Okay, so thank you very much for the panel. I think it was very challenging and sorry for pushing you so much. And we will see each other tomorrow or this afternoon. There is some other, I have to go back to my class. Thank you very much.